Good afternoon. Welcome to Community and Technology, where we connect the global community with news, information, and resources that will help improve your life. I'm Stu Reid. Here's my co-host, Dave Burstein. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Stu, you've been busy lately.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of my other job in addition to my technology stuff. I also have one hand in the food sustainability stuff that's going on. My wife and I, Linda Tarrant Reed, we have a nonprofit here in New Rochelle that called the Lincoln Park Conservancy, and we have a food sustainability program called Grow Eat. And part of that program, Dave, is we have historically we've had one community farm. We're bringing two more online this spring, so we're going to have three community-based farms here in New Rochelle. I guess about 10 and 18 and 22,000 square feet, roughly, of growing space where we're going to be growing fresh vegetables and herbs. And we started the season a little early this year, even though it's March and we haven't yet planted anything because it's too cold. Um, Local community group, the Boys and Girls Club here in New Rochelle, came to us and were talking about us participating in a health and wellness program at the Boys and Girls Club here in New Rochelle. So we did that just this past Saturday. Big event, must have several hundred people come, including many politicals and notables from New York City and Westchester County. And what we did, what the Lincoln Park Conservancy did, is we brought our vegetable delivery truck, Dave, and we were able to secure fresh produce from Grow NYC in the Bronx, which harvests this stuff from upstate and other farms around the county, around the state, I should say. And so we collected, I'm not sure what the poundage was, but we had potatoes and carrots and onions and tomatoes and greens and kale and turnips and apples, whole bunch of stuff. And we ended up,
That is a whole bunch of
yeah, it was a
stuff.
whole bunch of stuff. And we ended up servicing about 100 families. About 100 folks came by, and we estimate each person represents 3 to 4 folks. So we're looking at 3 to 400 people that we were able to service at no cost to them. The Boys and Girls Club underwrote the food purchase, which I said as we had to make from one of our supplier partners. But this was our first foray this year into our whole vegetable pop-up distribution. And we've been doing this for about, I think this is our fourth year nowadays. And, it's amazing. We started the program back during the pandemic when it became clear we had our farm, but we were not yet, hadn't put together our food sustainability program. We had the farm, community farm since 2011, 2012, where we have about 65 raised beds that in the past we leased to community groups, to churches, to nonprofits, very nominal fee, $35 for the entire season. And folks and families would grow their own fresh produce. When the pandemic hit, we realized just looking right across the street, there was the National Guard handing out food. As many of our listeners may recall, New Rochelle was at the nexus of the pandemic in New York State when it broke out. So not far from less than a mile from where our community farm is, was where the pandemic really hit big time. And as I said, right across the street from our farm location was a food giveaway manned by the National Guard. And we were like, wow, my goodness, what the heck is going on? And we did some research and we realized that something like 40% of Westchester County residents are food insecure. And by food insecure, that means that they have difficulty reliably and confidently and regularly putting food on the table for their families. So I was astounded at that number, Dave, 40% of what we think of as an affluent county, Westchester County, yet
Now,
40%.
What
Food
did you have
insecurity.
healthy food? Or
Yeah,
how healthy is
absolutely.
what you had?
Pesticide-free, organic, fresh produce, freshly, locally grown, and it's really good. It's really good stuff. I'm not sure I even completed the list. Turnips, is, another thing that we're on there. There are a number of items that folks say, "Well, what's that? What's this? What's that?" And fortunately, we have a couple farm assistants, Dave, that work with us to help distribute the food. And two of the three are bilingual; they speak Spanish. And one of the young men, who's also Latino, he is a chef. So he is really experienced in cooking a lot of the vegetables that folks don't necessarily know how to cook. How do you cook the squash? How do you cook these turnips? And so he's able to tell our visitors who are coming to pick up the vegetables how to do it. Peel it, saute it, boil it, whatever, whatever. So it's really an educational experience as well as a food distribution experience, and it's been quite fulfilling, Dave. I had no idea how emotionally satisfying this work was going to be. We were just doing it because it needed to be done. But, once you are out there for a couple hours handing out food and folks bring their bags and they are so grateful, Dave, so thankful. How much? How much? No, no, no charge. They were like so grateful to receive this food. It really just, warmed my heart, warms Lynn's heart. And like I said, this is our fourth year now of doing this. What we call the name of the program is Grow Eat. And, something that we're hoping that catches on in other places as well. Like I said, we're expanding our growing space here in Westchester. And, we're networking with other farms around the county, upstate, as well as in the Bronx and other parts of New York City to partner and collaborate. Last year we were able to secure a vegetable delivery truck thanks to a generous grant from State Senator Lataya Fernandez, who granted us a nice chunk of change to get this truck. So we have a really beautiful vegetable delivery truck now where we're able to deliver the vegetables directly to the locations where the food insecure either live or receive services. So we go to churches, we go to low-income housing, we go to senior housing. Last year, we went to a couple New York City Housing Authority street fairs, one in Brooklyn, went to a hospital in the Bronx, went to a church in Mount Vernon. So we're starting to spread out and expand our footprint as well. It's amazing, folks. Our food insecure all over the place. A lot of folks are really struggling. Dave, even post-pandemic, we did not see a big drop in the folks that are still food insecure. There's still a lot of folks that are out there struggling, and many of our listeners know about the cutbacks in the food stamps and other types of support that the federal government has pulled back under this current administration. So it's even more important to have programs such as this, providing food to the food insecure and providing healthy organic food to the food insecure. That's the other thing, Dave. We're trying to help folks eat better, eat healthier. So one of
Let's stop you
yeah,
there
go ahead.
and talk about what is healthy eating. And then I got another question or two for
Okay.
you.
Well, two things. One, I think the first thing is pesticide-free fruits and vegetables. Pesticides have been shown to cause long-term health degradations, cancer, among other things. So you want really produce that is totally pesticide free. And that's harder and harder to find. We also don't go for the GMO, the genetically modified foods. Who knows what possible side effects there might be with that? We do not know, Dave. And one of the things that I learned is that when you grow the food in the ground and you grow it organically, it's not always as pretty as what you see in the grocery store. I'm amazed sometimes at just how spectacular looking some of the vegetables are in the grocery stores. And a lot of these vegetables are GMO vegetables, genetically modified, and they're engineered to look great. But the nutritional effects are somewhat dubious. I can't speak authoritatively on the nutritional effects of GMO products, but I certainly am not a proponent of that. I would rather folks eat healthy, organically grown, pesticide-free fruits and vegetables. The second thing is lots of fruit and vegetables. It's been shown that the more vegetables that we eat, the healthier we are. Of course, we do need protein, whether that be fish or fowl or some other type of meat. But a large amount of vegetables is definitely a plus in terms of healthy eating, giving your body what it needs to really thrive. And fruit's a good choice, even though some folks may be challenged in terms of their sugar intake. And some fruits are high in carbohydrates, but at least that is a clean sweetener. It's not the artificial sweeteners. It's not the sweeteners that they put in soda and drinks, the sucrose and the other artificial sweeteners. It's natural. So if you have a sweet tooth, that's the way to go, fruit. So those are the areas that I know about, Dave, just from my experience in gardening and farming for the last 10, 12 years or so.
And it really is amazing the difference in quality. Years back, I was doing the buying for a food co-op we had here in Manhattan, the Broadway local.
Hmm.
And so I was going up to Hunts Point every week.
Right.
The quality of produce when it hits New York, regular or organic, is much, much better than most of the supermarkets and stores.
Yeah.
They're buying that same produce,
Hmm.
but unrefrigerated, 2, 3, 4 days sitting
Right.
in the store makes
Right.
a huge difference, at least in taste.
It absolutely does, and probably nutrition as well. I mean, there's nothing like stuff that comes out of the ground. Once we get our growing season underway, Dave, a lot of the stuff that we distribute, we actually pick, harvest on the very same day that we distribute it. So we go to our farms and we harvest early Friday morning. Then Friday, 10, 12 o'clock, we're out there distributing and there's nothing like it. I can remember, some folks are a little bit, I would say, I'm not sure embarrassed is the right word, Dave, but some folks, oh, I don't need any free food. I go to the grocery store. I remember talking to one lady, oh, I got all the vegetables I need. I just go to the grocery store. I said, okay, that's fine. Maybe you do have what you need, but you're not going to find vegetables like this in the grocery store. You should at least give it a try, even though you may have everything you need. Here it is, free of charge, no cost to you. Give it a try and see if you can tell the difference. I'm certain you can tell the difference in terms of taste, and it may be a little more difficult to see the nutritional benefit. That's a little slower to react to actually see it. But the taste of stuff that's just out of the ground, it's nothing like it, Dave.
And I remember back in the food co-op days, every week we'd be so glad the once a week when we got the fresh stuff.
Hmm.
It was just a pleasure.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been doing obviously a lot of high tech work, learning about AI, and there's lots of stuff happening there. So I'm looking a lot at stuff for the AI in medicine.
Hmm.
And almost every recommendation on how to take care of yourself from the same doctors who are doing the most advanced work in things like longevity and cancer
Hmm.
is eat well and exercise.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That comes first. Now, when we're talking about eat well, I was really surprised. One of the things they say is avoid highly processed foods.
Hmm.
And I had it all wrong in what's included in that, correct? Stu, what would you include in a highly processed food?
I would include things like pre-packaged meat, sausages, and hot dogs and stuff like that. Anything that is not grown out of the ground and or anything that is not freshly, if you excuse the term, but it's either fished from the sea or freshly slaughtered, if you will, from a farm, whether it be chicken, pork, beef, or what have you. Anything else, canned goods and packaged food, all that stuff has all kinds of preservatives and other things in it, processing to keep it, to extend the shelf life, to keep it, so that it can sit on the shelf for days, if not weeks, and still taste good and not make you sick. So, I mean, are there some other things that, you discovered, Dave, that are processed food?
I used until last week, I thought the same thing. Things like highly processed meats are highly processed.
Hmm.
Uh, Instant noodles, which are very convenient, very cheap, but loaded with chemicals of different sorts that probably
Yeah.
aren't good for you. But then I saw a list of what was considered highly processed foods you should avoid.
Hmm.
And I checked it out, several different sources. And among the things that they consider highly processed are soda and
Oh, yeah.
sweetened juices,
Hmm.
which I guess is because they have
The high fructose corn syrup. That's what they put in all the sodas, and even the ones that are zero sugar, they substitute it with chemically produced sweeteners. The only sweetener that I've seen that I'm not haven't done an exhaustive study, Dave, but the one sweetener that I enjoy, I use it in my iced tea and other stuff, is stevia. It's a natural plant that grows, and you can buy it either the whole plant or you can buy it ground up and powdered. And that's something I recommend. And I have found a couple of drinks, there are a couple of juice drinks that have stevia in it as opposed to high fructose corn syrup. And that's something that I would recommend folks look at all of their drinks because almost all of them have either sugar, a lot of it, or high fructose corn syrup, a lot of it. And if you can find something that has a natural sweetener, not the sugar, there are a couple other, I forget all the fancy names for some of the chemically produced sweeteners, but they all have side effects, Dave, as far as I'm concerned. So they abound in juice and in soda. And the amount, I mean, the amount of sugar in soda is astounding. You look at a bottle of Pepsi or a Coca-Cola or, a flavored soda, and it's something like 30 to 40 grams of sugar, Dave. Now, a gram of sugar is like a teaspoon. So if you can imagine 35 teaspoons of sugar in your drink, 35 in your drink of soda. That's
there
crazy.
was an old there was an old thing teachers used to do. I don't know if they still do it. They'd take a bottle of Coke,
Mm-hmm.
they'd put it on the window ledge in the sun, let it sit there for a few days, and all the water evaporates.
Mm-hmm.
Open it and let it there. And what's left behind is a whole lot of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sugar to most of us doesn't sound like it's highly processed, although we know that it's refined.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're talking about avoiding highly processed food, sugar in cookies, candy, granola bars,
Mm-hmm.
ice cream are high on that list.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That surprised me.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Hot dogs, yeah, in this kind, hot dogs tend to be highly processed. Margarine,
Mm-hmm.
processed bread, which means the ordinary white Wonder Bread, and so on. And the evidence that some combination of those kinds of foods, which they're calling highly processed, leads to chronic diseases, premature death, and so on,
Hmm.
is overwhelming. But, and I did not realize that when the health experts are advising keep away from processed food, they made cookies. I don't
Yeah,
know how,
I didn't know cookies were qualified as processed. I know they got a lot of sugar. I didn't know they qualified as processed. I guess just the sugar content alone is probably what puts them on the list.
and I think we all know that too much sugar is not good for you.
Mm,
But it was really confusing to me when I saw all this stuff. Processing by itself, there's no reason to think that all processed foods are bad, but what they're telling you to avoid is so many different things that I'm sure some of them are very harmful.
mm.
And things like cold cuts are probably pretty high on that list.
Yeah, they're not recommended. The latest things that I've seen about cold cuts, which historically growing up, that was one of my favorites, but that's not recommended these days.
And now, perspective again on all of these things, when I looked into the what's healthy for you, is that most people are not going to eat just organic fruits, vegetables, and beans, and so on.
Hmm.
Almost everybody is going to have some of the things that are on this list.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Don't feel guilty about occasionally having a strip of bacon, but not too much. Limit.
Hmm.
The advice that makes sense for Michael Pollan is eat less, assuming you aren't going too far down. Mostly healthy, not always healthy, because that's something that very few people can live up to. But that really surprised me. What they're saying avoiding is all the stuff with sugar, lots of kinds of oils, uh, ice cream surprised me, but of course, there's loads of sugar.
Yeah, there's the sugar again. Hmm.
Processed bread, which is almost all bread.
Hmm.
And it turns out, and going back to produce and bread and so on, it turns out there's a big difference, apparently, between brown rice and white rice,
Hmm.
whole wheat bread and white bread.
Yeah. Yeah, the stuff that generally, what one of the things that I've learned just about food in general, food with color is more healthy for you than food where the color is bleached or where there is no, there's very little natural color to the produce. Generally, the more color, the richer it is in vitamins and minerals.
JFK Jr. is highly controversial Secretary of Health. He's opposed vaccines. He's had some very controversial opinions about what medicines are helpful and what aren't. And most of the public health experts despise him and what's going on. But this week, I want to give him some credit. I saw a story about medical school curriculum, and they're changing it. They're putting more information about nutrition
Hmm,
into medical school curriculums across the country.
that's a plus. That's a big plus. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's something that he's pressed the medical schools to do.
Hmm.
And absolutely on target, I'm sure.
Well, good for him. Well, Dave, we're about at the halfway point. I really enjoyed this talk we had for this segment about healthy eating, healthy food, healthy growing, and it's so important. When we come back, you talked a little bit about AI and how that has impacted healthcare and how the overlap with food and eating is there. But I'd like you to tell us a little bit more. You kind of touched the subject last week about it seems as though all of a sudden AI is expanding even more rapidly than folks thought it would. So I'd like to hear some more about that when we come back from the break.
And in the break, we're going to be hearing some music. I think this week we should do some Korean music.
Okay. What's the
BTS,
occasion, Dave?
BTS is back after actually serving in the Korean army for a few years. They got
Mm.
drafted, and it's a huge international tour, and their album is selling like almost nothing ever had in the past. So maybe this week we should admire how from East Asia comes some of the most popular stuff, even though, frankly, it doesn't do very much for me.
Okay, I'll see what I can dig up. Okay,
And who are we, Stu?
yes, yes. Okay, so you're listening to Community and Technology. Dave Burstein and Stu Reid on WHCR 90.3 FM. Stay tuned.
And
We'll be right back.
technology is going to be back after the break.
Yeah, more technology on the second half of the show. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a brief musical break.
La 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 dee 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 do da la. Be da wee da 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 wee. Kick it da 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 do da do be do dee da. Yeah, da ha la la. Baby woo ooh da 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 da. Ooh da 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 da. I got da 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 da. Wee da da do da da da. Sa da 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 da. Ba ba dee dee get do da dee da. So da da. Ba la da la da do dee dee da. Like that.
Okay, we're back. Community and Technology, Dave Burstein and Stu Reid. Dave, first half of the show, we were talking a lot about healthy eating, and organic and fresh produce. And you came up with a story that kind of talks about some of the impact of that. What was that about?
Well, the impact that I had in front of me, and that I'm hearing from the medical people, is on cancer and heart disease and just about everything that you don't want to have to face. How important is eating well? Well, in China in 1980, 1960, 1970, until we get into the 80s, many people were on the brink of starvation, and something like 20 million people had starved. When that generation grew up, well, yeah, it had an effect. They were shorter. Stu,
Yeah.
what's the chart in front of you?
Yeah, I just put it on for those folks who may be watching us on our video stream. I just put a chart up that shows the mean height of 19-year-old girls in the United States versus China from 1985 to 2019. And there's a discrepancy starting in 1985 of, I guess, about 6 centimeters, which is pretty good.
2 or 3 inches.
What's that, about 4 or 5 inches, maybe?
It's 2 or 3 inches.
Okay. Anyway, from 1985 to 2019, US is flat in terms of no particular growth in the mean height of 19-year-old girls. But for China, the mean height goes from 157.5 to 163.5, increase of 6 centimeters. Pretty significant over a 30-year period or so. And you would attribute that to mostly diet, Dave, would you say, or improved healthcare?
I will. It's hard not to think that that's because they're eating decently. Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily well. In fact, the Chinese are now having obesity problems, increase in heart disease, and so on, because they're eating a lot of instant noodles and other things that we know aren't the most healthy stuff. But 2 or 3 inches taller, probably just because they have enough food.
Wow.
The other thing that I'm seeing again and I'm looking at the highest of high tech doctors, Stanford and Harvard professors talking about their research.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are saying eat well and exercise is the best medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the doctors who are inventing the most advanced high tech medicine.
Wow.
But almost all of them also have a clinical practice, or many of them have a clinical practice. They've all learned, yeah, there may be breakthroughs coming in longevity. There are breakthroughs happening in many kinds of cancer. The rate of heart disease is going down dramatically. Bring down your cholesterol, bring down your blood pressure, bring down your blood sugar. But eating well and exercising, the same doctors who are coming up with the latest drugs are saying is much more important for most
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
good. Okay, high tech. I spend all my time trying to understand what's going on in AI.
Mhm.
I'm specializing in medicine, which means I'm reading from all the high-tech doctors, some of the top researchers in the world. Is what my daily reading. And they're not just talking about what research is doing. When they think about it, they tell you eat well, exercise, and so on.
That's the refrain. But
I'm
now,
with
what's happening on the technology side with them though? What's up?
Okay. I've said it before, and I'm not the only one saying it. People like Dario Modi, head of Anthropic, one of the top people building AI, now a mega billionaire on a mega billion country, actually went to Washington because he said it is changing. It is changing fast, and you guys don't understand how fast it's coming and how important it is that we do it right.
Interesting.
Yeah. I've had some back and forth with Eric Brynjolfsson, Stanford professor, who's probably the top economist in all this stuff, on track to get a Nobel Prize one of these days.
Mm-hmm.
And he's seeing that there are two paths. One path could be disastrous. We don't know, but there's every reason to take it seriously. The path that he's worried about in particular is that the way a few companies in AI are taking over. So it's not just AI taking over, but just a handful of companies. That kind of monopoly control,
Right.
we've known for 200 years, is a very dangerous thing. And he's worried that AI is going to produce that and thinks we should be doing something about it.
But now, Dave, earlier you had talked about what seemed to be a surge, if you will,
Not what seems to be. The overwhelming evidence, looking at what's happening in AI, that since the end of last year,
mm-hmm.
it is getting better and better, faster and faster.
Are there any data points or anything you could share with our
Well,
listeners that would kind of demonstrate what you're talking about?
the one that everybody in AI is seeing comes from people like Andrej Karpathy, one of the most respected programmers in the world. Mm-hmm. He's not programming anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least he's not writing any programs anymore. He said that since December, the AIs have gotten so good, he doesn't write program code anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He tells the AI, this is what I want. And one of the things he did is he came up with an application that runs all the devices in his home, mm-hmm. just by describing it to AI. Mm-hmm. And the AI wrote a program that he's using every day on everything in his home.
Wow.
Mark Zuckerberg, the Wall Street Journal just reported, is building an AI agent to go through his email, go through all the files everybody sends him, goes through his news feed, and goes through his schedule of appointments and say, this is what's happening that you need to know before you meet with so-and-so.
Wow. Executive assistant on steroids, huh?
That is something that everybody dreamed of a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that people are using and making today. Lots of consequences. Next bit. 2 years ago, I made a mistake on this show. I said, if you want a decent job, learn how to program in Python, where most of the stuff is happening now, including all the AI. I was dead wrong. Take a look. one of the news stories we have this year from a top university, the University of Washington, where David Baker just won the Nobel Prize for his high-tech biology. Do you see the number there?
No, I didn't.
The computer science department graduated 487 students.
Oh, I did see that. And what they placed
63.
what?
More than
13% placement rate. What?
more than 80% couldn't find a job.
And this is their computer science school, correct?
Yeah,
At the University of Washington. Wow.
right. There are almost no entry-level jobs in computer science. We've said that on the air a time or two. And that's because people who decide what to hire are saying, we're not going to need these guys. Our experts can talk to the AI and get what we need because the AIs have gotten so much better. That is working for many things. Now, they probably still need a lot of people to be the experts and probably have gone overboard in not hiring. But it is that dramatic. This is changing. I did another thing. Really looks good. A friend of mine's daughter wants to be a nurse. She's 15 and in high school now. We went down to Manhattan Community College that has a highly regarded nursing program where they had an open house so she could see what it would take. And to become a nurse in this city right now, it takes a lot, actually. 3 out of 4 students who apply do not get accepted in community college nursing programs.
Wow.
The test was hard. She needed to know reading and writing and math and a lot of biology. So I wanted to help her. She's going to have to take a test called the TS. And I said, Claude, come up with 3,000 words on the basics of biology that she needs to learn to pass the TS exam and get into nursing school.
Claude is an AI program for folks that maybe haven't been listening. So what did Claude come up with, Dave?
Right on target. Summarizing well the basics of biology like you would learn it in a college biology course or a good high school biology course. Clear, organized, subheads. I read it quickly. I didn't see any errors. Of course, I'm not a professional biologist, but it was right on target. Then I said, organize this into lessons with questions and answers. And we had for her what you might have bought as a study guide.
Wow.
For that test.
That's amazing, Dave.
And that's why I'm bringing it to the air. This kind of amazing thing is happening. So on one level, it's that practical. 15-year-old girl wants to be a nurse. Give her a thing to study. Now, what happens if she goes into the anatomy section of that biology course and gets a few mistakes? Well, the AI can come up with 4 lessons tailored to cover the mistakes she made in that anatomy section. Is it going to replace teachers? Some people think so. I doubt it strongly.
Sounds like a heck of an enhancement, though, Dave, to come up with a curriculum and a syllabus and question and answer. That's amazing.
Personalized.
Yeah, personalized. Yeah, wow.
Absolutely there. you could have done all this on the 3 version of Claude. I pay for the $20 version, which
Mm-hmm.
gives me more questions and maybe more full answers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I forgot to say, it also had diagrams of all the things it was
Mm.
teaching that Claude generated. It didn't go to the web and find diagrams like you
Mm-hmm.
might if you do a Google search. It made the diagrams to explain exactly what it was teaching.
Wow. Wow. That is astounding, Dave. That's astounding. Wow.
Next,
Mm.
you asked me for examples.
Mm-hmm.
It was done with text, like the traditional Turing test, but now the AIs can give you an empathetic voice that's so good the Wall Street Journal reporter fooled her own mother with how
Mm-hmm.
good the voice was imitating her.
Mm-hmm.
But it did it with text. And people were asked to converse. Again, this is text, but the voice probably would have been the same now with the AI and with a person trying to persuade them to change their opinion on different subjects.
Mm-hmm.
How good do you think the AI was at persuading people to change their opinion?
I would think no better than 50-50. I'm thinking they're gonna throw out
Heck,
the same
heck, heck,
arguments that everybody that they've heard before.
no.
No.
The results on the AI were a heck of a lot better at persuasion they chose mostly political topics.
Mm-hmm.
Because the AI, looking at billions and now trillions of examples of persuasive text downloaded from
Mm-hmm.
the internet, all the arguments for every pundit out there, was able to find the ones that were most effective. And the
Now,
other thing,
this was around political opinions, correct, Dave?
this was mostly political opinions.
Okay.
And I haven't looked very closely at this one,
Mm-hmm.
but the AIs now are able to use ordinary psychology,
Mm.
like you could be taught by Dale Carnegie or a college
Mm-hmm.
psychology text,
Mm.
to come up with an argument. Well, we don't have Socrates to compare him with anymore,
Mm.
but it's working really well. So
Well,
what
that kind of amazes me, Dave, in that, particularly with political opinions, my sense and experience is that so much of folks' political opinions are emotionally based, and it's based more on emotion than intellect or fact. And the fact that
Well, I think
AI
we
was
just
able to penetrate
demonstrated
that.
that AI can understand human emotions well enough to affect them.
Mm.
It can.
Wow.
It turns out to be the key to the theory of knowledge and how children learn when they're 2 and 3 years old.
Mm.
And many of the best AI people, like Jan Kuhn, are saying, how do we train the AI? Let's look at how a 2-year-old learns.
Mm-hmm.
And a year or two ago, Jan was turning around and pointing out that in loads of things, the AI was doing wonderfully on some things and terribly on other things. It was great that an AI could identify any face, but it had to be trained on millions of faces. A child, a 2-year-old, can identify a face quite accurately
Right.
after seeing it 1 or 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
And how that's done, the philosophers and psychologists have been working hard on theory of knowledge
Still
for
trying
the
to figure that one out. Yeah.
and they got
Yeah,
somewhere.
we're about out of time, Dave. Did you have a kicker you wanted to share with that audience before we go?
Oh, this is
Dave is pretty good at coming up with these odd facts and figures. Dave, go ahead.
Well, we were talking about the dangers of overprocessed food. It turns out that it may very well be that taking birds eating tobacco, and this was something that, and eating cigarette butts with tobacco and the filters, blue tits had fewer parasites in their nest. The tobacco was killing the parasites that normally might infect the birds in their nest. Cigarette butts contain 4,000 chemical compounds.
4,000 chemicals, Dave?
Yeah, organic,
4,000?
anything organic,
Talk
including.
about processed. Wow. I mean, the
No,
tobacco
no, no,
that
no, no. This isn't processed. It would have been the same result if it was pure natural tobacco grown organically, I bet. Although
you just said
what?
4,000 chemicals. That doesn't sound like organic to me.
Yes, it does. Your organic broccoli has 4,000 chemicals.
Okay. Okay. You're talking about the composition. I got you. Okay, I stand corrected.
Okay. It turns
Okay.
out that everything organic, from
Has
broccoli
chemicals.
to you and me, is incredibly complicated. So yes,
Mhm.
4,000 chemicals is quite possible, and they may have added 5 or 6 more in
Mhm.
processing the
Yeah.
tobacco,
And
and they
that
may have
tobacco
made a few hundred more curing the tobacco,
right.
leaving it out to ferment as you would with fermented foods,
Mhm.
or you create several hundred different compounds heating up ordinary beef or sugar to make caramel. It breaks down in lots of ways and creates loads of compounds. So yes, 4,000 chemical compounds, that's not a surprise. Toxic enough? How toxic is it? Well, in an actual test with blue tits, a kind of bird, it seemed to kill parasites quite well, which is why most of these compounds, or many of these compounds, are in the first place.
Mhm.
Because tobacco plants and every other plant out there is constantly fighting off insects,
Mhm.
bacteria, viruses,
Gotcha.
and have evolved over 600 million years all kinds of defenses. And
Okay.
they're in, and that's why, yeah,
Okay.
even
Well,
organic produce,
there you have it.
loaded and loaded with chemicals.
Thank you for that tidbit, Dave. Okay. Well, this has been quite an interesting discussion, Dave. From organic food growing to AI to blue tits, is it, Dave? And tobacco, warding off all kinds of disease. So this has been Community Technology on WHCR 90.3 FM every Wednesday, 5 p.m., and also streaming at WHCR.org. Tune in, check us out. This might learn something. Thanks. Good night. This is Stu Reid, host of Community and Technology, airing every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. For 40 years, WHCR has been the voice of Harlem, providing you with news you can use, emergency preparedness information, and a diverse mix of talk and music shows. Our DJs and radio personalities are all volunteers who come out, rain, sleet, or snow, just like the mail carriers, to serve and keep you connected. I am personally asking you to give the WHCR because there's no other station like it, telling it like it is, not beholden to any commercial or special interest group. Giving is easy and can be done in 3 ways. Our 40 for 40 campaign is asking each of you to donate $40. That's $1 for each year of WHCR being the voice of Harlem and beyond. Number one, you can give at WHCR.org online. Just click the donation tab. 2, send your check or money order to WHCR FM Radio, 160 Convent Avenue, NAC Building, room 1/513, New York, New York 10031. Or 3, if you want to donate now but the funds aren't yet available, just use our pledge line to call and make a pledge and pay later. Call 212-650-7526. That's 212-650-7526. Leave your name and number and someone will return your call. Remember to speak slowly and clearly. Thank you in advance for supporting WHCR, the voice of Harlem, and ensuring our voices are heard for the next 40 years and beyond.